I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, my job.
Okay, and we're now entertain a motion to recess an open session and convene executive session for discussion and or action regarding those items of business exempt from open meetings under Rhode Island General Law 42-46-4 and Rhode Island General Law 42-46-5A1, employee job performance, East Greenwich High School Assistant Principal, Cole Middle School Assistant Principal, confidential administrative assistant to superintendent, and school committee clerk. Individuals have been notified, including their right to have any discussion in open session. Do I have a motion? Motion by Will, second by Kevin. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? I will entertain a motion to seal executive session minutes of April 28, 2026, and disclose that no votes were taken. Motion, Claire, second by Kevin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, we're in open session. This stage, I'd like to invite anyone signed up for public comment. Come forward.
I have a question about public comment. If you're discussing policies, should I wait because you're discussing policies? It's not on the agenda.
It's a policy on the agenda that I usually will
wait for that.
We'll take comment during those items.
Okay, so the one comment we're going to defer until we're on that action item. Okay, so moving on. Next agenda item is presentations by Cropper GIS, an option recommendation from the EGPS redistricting planning committee. Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
I introduce Matt Cropper. He's with us tonight from Cropper GIS. Matt's been with us either remotely or was in person for a public session back in March. So again, Cropper is a consulting firm that we've been working with on the redistricting efforts. As you know, we do have a large planning committee. Myself, Dr. Quinn, Ms. Powell is not here, Ms. Crudale, in the audience. I don't see anyone else here who's on the committee, but a number of other district employees and parents. We've been working since the fall, meeting a couple of times a month. And we have landed tonight with an option recommendation that Matt is going to share with us, walk you through how we got here and what it would mean for the redistricting as we move forward into the 2027-28 school year. You know, we're getting ready for the new buildings at Frenchtown and Hannaford. And just want to remind you, this is a presentation only tonight. The vote will be back on the agenda on May 19th. So Matt, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Dr. Kenworthy, members of the board. Thank you guys for the opportunity to present to you tonight. Matthew Cropper, and as Dr. Kenworthy said, our firm has been working with you on your redistricting effort, and we're here to present the recommendations on behalf of planning team. So just a little bit of background of us, Cropper GIS, we're K-12 planners. We have staff that live in different parts of the country, but we do this kind of work all across the United States. And so redistricting is one of our specialties, and we probably do about 15 or so of these a year. And so we bring a lot of expertise in how other communities tackle challenges with boundary changes and things like that. And also we have a strong background in technology. And this is our 21st year in business. So I'm honored to be working with you guys. We've done work with, like I said, a lot of other districts. We were just in Situate last night. delivering their recommendations for their redistricting. But we're also working in Lowell now, and we're working with several other districts, including West Warwick and a lot of other districts in the state of Rhode Island. So the reason why, as you all know, why we're doing this is that you're in the process of modernizing and improving buildings and construction. You're building 2 new elementary schools that are serve grades 1 through 5 on the Hannaford Frenchtown sites. Frenchtown's going to be a little bit bigger, so we given them a little bit more students than Hannaford. And Eldridge is going to close, and then Meadowbrook is going to be a pre-K to K building. So this is all planned for fall of 27. So this sets you up nicely to work on implementation. Once you approve plan, you'll have this summer and next fall to work through preparations for the fall of 2027 when the buildings open. Just a current slide showing current utilization, which really defines the need. And that your buildings all of your buildings currently before construction are pretty small, overutilized. So there was definitely a need to do what you're doing as part of the construction project. So Dr. Kenworthy mentioned we worked with a planning team that was made up of parents, staff members, some school committee members. We had people from transportation and the school principals on the team, and we all worked through scenarios over the last several months, just trying to figure out how many different ways we could carve the district up while adhering to our objectives and criteria. And the planning team is the group that is delivering the recommendation. We do have the unanimous consensus from the planning team on this recommendation. We met with the public several times, and then you guys are the ones who ultimately approve a plan. We've always told the public and everybody, the planning team, that nothing's final until the school committee approves a plan. So this is all draft until it's finalized. Dr. Kenworthy said we met with the planning team a couple times a month since October, and we developed 5 different scenarios over that time and evaluating and looking at things. We've kept communication open from the public and welcomed input from the public at all times, and they've given us good feedback that drove actually some changes to our final recommendation. And so all the stakeholders have been helpful in providing us information, leading to a recommendation that we feel is what's best for your district. We have always kind of focused on a set of criteria as we look at it, the viability of moving an area one or the other, things such as balancing building utilization, being mindful of the demographics of the schools as we make changes, and that make sure that we're not creating any imbalances in utilization or demographics, trying to assign students as close to home as possible. Bus efficiency was a big thing, and that also drove some of the changes at the sort of our final recommendations, some minor adjustments. Contiguous zones, and so that's creating one zone per school. And right now you have a non-contiguous zone with Frenchtown and Eldridge. That's kind of what we consider what we call a satellite area or a non-contiguous zone. So it's best practice to have one zone per school to and that aligns with close proximity and bus efficiency and a lot of those things. And using major roads when possible, and then and also being mindful of how many students are affected as we make changes and move as few students as possible. So did our work starting in October, leading up to our recommendation tonight. And so it's been several months of work and working through this and leading up to our recommendation that we're delivering to you this evening. We collected a lot of information from the district, student data. We mapped out all the students in the district so that we know where students live on all the streets, so that when we're counting students in areas, we can know exactly how many kids are living in the areas, how many students would be affected, and it gives us a really good way to estimate enrollment, and it's a good foundational way to develop zones using the student data as the backbone. And then the city and town was helpful. We even had the town manager on our planning team and was giving us a lot of information throughout the course of the study on development. There's a lot of feedback about accessibility to the schools and walkability and things like that. that's probably what we heard most of was concerns about students who can walk now, but with the new schools coming online, there are students who probably won't be as walkable as their current schools, whether it's Eldridge or Meadowbrook Farms, whatever. But the town manager was very helpful in giving us input as we worked through our process. Your current zones are shown on the map, and that shows you your two
Can I
different.
just ask, did you hear that from the public too? About Eldridge especially? That was a huge issue, leading up to the bond for this and everything. And people have this sentimental attachment to Eldridge, even though it has 109 more students than it should. But the idea that they have to cross, a different road than they do today is a major thing for people.
Yes, sir. It was the dominant talking point from the public when we were talking with the public and feedback from the public is walkability and bikeability, things like that to the new schools. And that was something that the town manager his ears were perked when the whole conversation was happening.
I heard him say that in the public meeting. Has it advanced any further than that? I mean, crossing this thing that we call First Avenue is kind of treacherous. So he said at that meeting, the town manager, we're very cognizant of that. We'll try to work on solutions. Has anything happened?
Not that I know of.
And I think he's looking out ahead to 27, 28. I don't know. I can get more details on the timeline.
You know it better than anybody. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
But we did, my kids and I did like a fake group where we could walk on sidewalks from Eldridge to Hannibal. So there are sidewalks.
There are safe paths to get there.
Yeah, as long as you can, yeah.
Much more so than Frenchtown, of
Yeah,
course.
Franklin is and sweet.
But yeah, I think the conversation was more around the schools in town, Meadowbrook Farms and Eldridge in particular, kind of the loss of the walkability of proximity. But sometimes it's avoidable. It's avoidable when you're going to 1 through 1st through 5th grade schools. I think the two buildings that you chose, the sites, are ideal in terms of distance away from each other and how we modeled zones. We were able to model efficient zones with the two locations that you chose for your 1st through 5th grade sites.
Thank you for saying that. Thanks for saying.
Yes. This is the map that shows you the recommendation. And so we had several different maps and options looking at South County Trail as a dividing line, and then or Route 4 as a dividing line. And as we worked through it, we modified the zones a little bit based off of transportation. And so what we've done here is pretty much everybody on South County Trail would be in Frenchtown Elementary School. But you can see there's a little cutout on Middle Road. In that Middle Road area, the couple communities right close to Middle Road, South County Trail, they were in Frenchtown, and they are in Hannaford in the final recommendation. Those are the areas that have accessibility onto any development that has accessibility onto Middle Road is in Hannaford in the recommendation. And another adjustment that we made was Frenchtown Road. Everything on Frenchtown Road is zoned for Frenchtown. And there's a couple of about 6 or 7 homes on Frenchtown Road when you're heading into town when Frenchtown Road splits. There's some homes on the left side that the road only travels towards Frenchtown from there. But those are the homes that were in Hannaford before. And looking at transportation efficiency, it was discussed that Frenchtown Road is a good that road is good to serve Frenchtown. And there's also an apartment complex that's a brand new that's starting to populate and fill up near Route 4, and that was also an area that was added to Frenchtown. This kind of helped balance enrollment, but also align with transportation and maximized efficiency as it relates to how kids are getting transported to school for safety and efficiency. So you could see the recommendations, what the estimated enrollment is, and the results of this recommendation put both schools somewhere in the 80th percentile range of their capacity. Frenchtown has a little bit more space with 112 seats at 82%, and Hannaford has 68 seats with 86% of utilization of its 86% of its full capacity. So we feel that these both have enough room to be able to weather ups and downs in enrollment, bubbles that may occur. These are about as proactive as we can be. We know there's growth in Hannaford forecasted, and Frenchtown has developments going on up there, particularly the development off of Division Road that we're kind of keeping an eye on, the potential development up there. So there's development activity, and we believe these have a good stable balance of utilization to weather and account for new developments and people moving into your district. All in all, this recommendation impacts 238 students, and so that's pretty good given what we've done in repurposing closing and repurposing a building. All in all, 238 from my experience is a pretty low impact in terms of total number of students that are affected. And that's all I have. I'd be happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Do you rarely encounter as clear division of bisecting the town into west and east as this one? I mean, you have these two highways. Kids shouldn't be crossing them as it is today, I don't think. This just kind of sorts itself out. You did all the analysis, you looked at different options, which is great. But to me, this was always, if we don't have a west side school and an east side school, we're out of our minds.
Yeah, we didn't know what to expect, never know what to expect going in. You start modeling, but as we started modeling options, it was clear to us that one of those two roads, either South County Trail or Route 4, were ideal for the cutoff lines for east and west school configuration.
Right.
Yes, sir. It was not as challenging as some of the districts that some of the projects that we've done in terms of trying to keep a balance. But I felt like it was the fortunate opportunity for your district to have really clear and concise lines. I always say the most efficient boundary, the set of boundaries for a district is one that you could describe in a couple of sentences. And that's exactly what you have going on here.
Yeah, right. And I'm sure this is probably not answerable, but are there any rules of thumb where you do get these clean splits about the efficiencies we can gain in bus transportation, for instance? Because again, when we were going through this for the bond, to get it approved, we said there would be some measure of cost savings too, because we don't have buses literally, traversing back and forth. And so it's environmentally better, but especially it's far more efficient.
Yes.
Some kids wait forever for a bus, it's kind of a weird thing we have now.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion about that, about transportation and time on buses and things like that.
It is going to be cleaner on the 125, and I do just want to say we're already in these discussions with the bus company.
Is that the metric time on bus? I like that. Are we reducing time on bus?
I think for the 1 through 5 grade spans, it is probably going to be more efficient. Don't forget now we're going to be busing kindergarten students from all over the district, which we currently are not. So that's the one I think if you talk about transportation that we need to figure out.
That's a counterbalance, yes.
I may add, some of our longer routes are all contained on the west side of the town already. So that's not going to shift unless the number of buses just makes it
more
cleaner.
efficient somehow.
Right.
So,
but this could also, I hate to say this might not be popular. I hope at some level this is also a deterrent for parents driving their kids to school when they don't have to. Just because again, you won't want to be I mean, now it's very self-contained. You shouldn't feel like, you combine dropping your kids off with something else because it's pretty self-contained.
You got kids, man. It's them who really, they forget to brush their teeth. They forgot their backpack. They have to go to the bathroom in the bathroom. It's not our fault.
there are parents who may not want to commingle the young kids with the
Oh,
older
that's true,
kids.
right, yeah.
So there's going to be a transition, I believe, but I think in time it'll all work itself out.
I really would like my children to take the bus and they are sometimes have different plans, I guess. I can do it.
Let me ask you another one. It's uncomfortable to talk about this, but you know, the socioeconomics of the way our town is laid out right now is there's probably more household wealth on the west side than the east side, although that's shifting. Well, I don't know about that. In aggregate, I don't know. But there are more lower income households, smaller houses on the east side. It's just the way the town grew up. Fewer on the west side, although that's changing with these developments and stuff like that. Did you, again, I think it's distasteful to factor that kind of stuff in, but did
Not at all.
did that come up at all?
It's actually,
No, but it's
you
kind
know,
of,
it's a tough topic to talk about, but it's something that I'm perfectly comfortable. We talk about it on most projects and,
it's not uncomfortable for me. You get a letter in the mail that says, this is your assigned school and you go.
yeah.
And if, you know, that's too, you know, if you have some snootiness about that, you know, that's
Yes,
tough.
but we did measure the race and ethnicity and the socioeconomics, the free and reduced lunch percentages of schools as we currently and as we modeled zones, and everything stayed within a very close band of the district average. So we didn't see any imbalances that were created. And so both of your schools are going to very closely mimic the demographic composition of the district as a whole.
Well, and also, you know, a starter home is more likely to be, you know, more income friendly on the east side than the west side. So for people moving to this town for the schools, which they do, and having a long-term plan, you know, it's not that uncommon to have a starter home and get your feet wet and then upgrade and stuff.
Sure,
like that.
yeah.
So I would expect some migration over time.
Yes, we do see growth in the Hannaford area because of that, and that there's more affordable housing in that area, and the age structure shows us that there's going to be some turnover and younger families moving in the next 10 years. So we do expect that to happen in East Greenwich.
Thank you.
Just one quick question. Could you clarify that number of what was 238 students affected?
Yes,
Which is
sir.
remarkably low. Just clarify, what is the definition of affected? Does that mean that they're in one school and now they'll be in a different school?
Yes, it's any student who in grades 1 through 5 who is being moved to where they're currently in a 1 through 5 setting
Okay,
that's being moved to a different school, that a different 1 through 5 school.
okay,
And so this shows you, the tan shows you how many. So 102 students are being moved from Frenchtown Eldridge to Hannaford, and then 136 students are being moved from Meadowbrook and Hannaford to Frenchtown. So a little bit of trade-off to get the balance that we needed, but still keeping impacts at a relatively low level.
I believe, if correct me if I'm wrong, that number of affected seemed to stay relatively constant, you know, a plus or minus a few, no matter which scenario we looked at.
Yes, sir.
And the split sibling challenge, Matt, I mean, it's not really a challenge, but I mean, you address that as well? Or they're in that 238
They're
affected.
well, yeah, because they're all going to be in grades 1 through 5. So that they would be, we counted anybody who's in the Frenchtown Eldridge zone.
Day one might be affected, then they'll be together.
Yes, that's right.
Yes,
Yes,
right.
sir. So the result of this is that you won't have the school pairing kind of challenge that has its pros and its cons to have the paired schools that you have now. But now an advantage is that all siblings grades 1 through 5 will go to the same school.
Did you mean split so like one goes to
Yeah.
Meadowbrook, one goes to Hannaford? Oh,
Easier now.
yes, right, or for the bus, yes, they get on the same bus. And then we'll talk about the youths and children who are in the like transitional age.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
we have a process right now where it doesn't guarantee that, you know, just because somebody asks, but there is a process in place. If somebody were to ask for a different school and they're assigned, there is a process that you follow. Again, I think we would just have to my thought would be we would make that, you know, more public and known, and we'll do our best
Did that come
to.
out in community feedback? Is that a thing?
I mean, I definitely heard a little bit. I'm trying to remember if it was. I've picked it up anecdotally here and there. Yeah.
It's always something we hear about. The question we always hear, and we heard it here, was, you know, my child's going to be a 5th grader in fall of 27. Can they stay at finish out at their existing school. That's what we often refer to as legacy enrollment. It's often called grandfathering. And that's something that most districts offer some level of that.
Yeah.
If you have the available space.
And that could result into siblings going to different
Yes.
schools for 1 year.
And if usually districts, if they allow that, the student has to have their own transportation provided.
And that's what we do. Yeah.
Ah,
So full disclosure, that's me. I have, I have a fifth grader,
On our list.
and what's that?
We have a list. I don't remember seeing her name on the list.
I think I have a list. Are we not on a list?
Or is fifth grade current?
She's in third grade now.
Oh.
So she'll be in fifth grade when this school is switched. Jennifer, if you're watching, go to bed. And I think actually that's probably good because like my cohort of parents are like the most panicked about that. Like it's their last year of elementary school, are they gonna have to get to a new place? And we'll figure it out, however it goes, like however it ends up being, because they're all gonna be together. I mean, we don't need to, but just in case you wanted to know how it's gonna work, they're all gonna be together. Cool. So if we meet each other early,
Right.
you'll go on with your life and we'll be working this out, but it'll be fine. It'll be good. I had one really quick question about, like in terms of when would we think about having you back?
Well, I don't think you're going to need me back for redistricting I may be retired by that time.
I was just curious, like, because we're doing this because we're at like a point of changing buildings, but like if your building stays more or less stable.
Yeah, the only time that we may be back here is for demographic study work, because that's more frequent doing forecasting, enrollment forecasting. So that's something that your latest forecast is all done off of the current zones and not the new zones. So maybe in a year or two, you may want to consider an updated demographic study that accounts for a couple more years of enrollment and then your new zones. But yeah, I don't think there's a need for us to revisit your district unless there's some reason to.
I'm curious because it's been on everyone's mind that anywhere you live in East Greenwich, you should have the same experience, like the same wonderful experience in elementary school. And I think that's come to fruition. But I would imagine that there are areas where those things sit and like the town, the face of the town changes. But I guess that takes kind of a long time.
It does. Yeah, it does. I don't anticipate, especially because you're not running your schools right at 100% of its capacity. You have a little bit of runway on space to work with and deal with sort of the bubbles and ebbs and flows in enrollment.
Yeah,
that always
like
come.
blows up.
Yeah, you get just it's unavoidable. You'll get a certain grade level where you have 30 more kids in another grade just for some reason. But I don't think that. Yeah, I think that you're going to be able to weather those ups and downs
With what we could do.
with the space that you have and the balance that's both these zones present.
Thank you. You do a good job, and then you kind of don't have a job anymore.
Yeah, well,
they do enrollment
Lots of
studies.
studies.
we do enrollment studies.
Moves on to another district.
Yeah.
We're a mouth too. We do good work, and then
Yeah. No, I mean it's a good thing. Like you're done. It's
Yeah.
done.
Yeah, we're honored to work with you guys. It's a beautiful community you have here.
Thank you.
But I hope you don't have to call me again for this.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so any further questions, further discussion? Okay, so thank you, Matt.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. You've been,
Thank you, guys. Great summer.
yeah,
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does that sound like?
we've been like a weekly almost communicating here.
Yeah,
Drop off
You can
now.
always reach out to me
I
if
know.
you want
Thank
to
you.
catch up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our next agenda item, approval of minutes. We have the executive session and regular meeting minutes of April 7th, 2026. And I'll just note that Mr. Hangen was absent for those meetings. So I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the executive session and regular meeting minutes. Do I have a motion? Kevin, a second, what's it? Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, all those opposed, all those abstaining, one, okay. Okay, so the minutes are approved. Okay, next we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Quinn. I'm going to start with some district updates. First, I want to start by thanking everyone who came out for our East Greenwich Together Family and Community event back on April 14th. And those of you who participated in one of our panels, we have several people in the room here, and many others who helped us out. So thank you. This forum was an integral part of our broader ongoing efforts related to the discovery of racist and anti-Semitic graffiti in several of our schools. As you know, these efforts also include a continued investigation, collaboration with local partners, support for students and families, as well as expanded educational opportunities focused on respect, responsibility, and community. Moving on to school construction and redistricting, our construction efforts at Hannaford, Frenchtown, and EGHS continue on schedule. If you've driven by Hannaford lately, you'll see actual steel framing of the building, which is exciting to see. So all the projects are coming along. Information and updates, including drone footage, can always be found on the school construction link on our district website. A few weeks ago, we had the larger project kickoff. We were recognizing all of the projects. We held that event at East Greenwich High School, but it was really a commemoration of all of our projects. As you know, we were joined by Governor McKee, Congressman Magaziner that day, and many of you and other local officials. We did not want to totally leave out Hannaford and Frenchtown as far as having their own event. So right now we are working on events that are tentatively scheduled for May 30th at Hannaford. These are both Saturday events, and June 6th at Frenchtown. And we're designing these to be more kid-friendly, touch a truck type activities. But we're going to start sending more of that information out across the district and our schools. So looking forward to those events as well. And then on redistricting, of course, we just heard the recommendation from Matt Cropper this evening on the option recommendation from our redistricting planning committee. And you as a committee are scheduled to vote on a recommendation on May 19th. Information and updates on redistricting can always be found on the redistricting link on our district website. I wanted to offer special congratulations to East Greenwich High School seniors Catherine Creedon, who was recently named as valedictorian for the class of 2026, and Zion Sun, who was recently named as salutatorian. So with those announcements, we certainly congratulate Catherine, Zion, all of their teachers, family members, but that also means we're inching closer to end of year activities. We've got a lot planned at all of our schools, but especially for our seniors leading up to graduation later in June. We have transitioned over to our spring sports season. Obviously, with some of the great weather we've been having is a good indication of that. But I did want to recognize now that our winter athletic season has completely wrapped up, our East Greenwich High School all-state athletes for the winter. And these are significant recognitions because in some divisions we're competing at a lower division based on our size. But all-state recognition factors in all athletes in a particular sport around the state. So in gymnastics, congratulations to Olivia Ruth. Congratulations to Ryan Evans and Jeremiah Moon in indoor track and field. Dar Gamel, Ingrid Zeller, and Alex Trimmer in swimming, as well as Liam Levy and Jordan Lally in wrestling. They all earned some level of all-state distinction for their performance this past season. Just a reminder that kindergarten registration for next school year is open, and parents or guardians who have a child that will be 5 years old on or before September 1st are encouraged to go to the registration link on our district website to start that process as soon as possible. There are directions if an in-person appointment is needed, that can be scheduled there as well. And then also wanted to mention that our pre-K application process is open for next school year. So We are accepting applications for 3 and 4-year-olds for our integrated preschool located at Meadowbrook Farms Elementary for the 26-27 school year. That information can also be found on the registration page on our district website. It's the last meeting of the month here, so we have a monthly budget report that takes us through the end of March. Ms. Baker, who is away and could not be with us this evening, had prepared that. I did review it with her. Essentially, again, this updates our revenues and expenditures through March 31st. We also have updated information on our fund balance and our federal grants. And just one last thing, and I'll entertain any questions. Also, personnel report updates are typically given at our last meeting of the month. So we did have a couple of recent custodial resignations. And I did want to also highlight and thank Brianna Moody, who for a number of years has been our human resources coordinator in the district, did submit her resignation to me. She's just going to look for other opportunities, but we're happy that she'll be with us through June 30th, and we wish her the best in all of her future endeavors. Are there any questions on anything that I mentioned? Yeah.
So
You're in charge.
sorry, I'm just curious about the custodial
Yeah.
resignations.
Yeah.
Any sense of,
Now one of those was an individual who we had just hired a few meetings ago. I probably, their name was included on our personnel report. We had a number of new custodial hires, and one of the people just it couldn't work out with the hours that they had. I know we've got our sub numbers are more robust than they have been, so it's not as dire as even I've seen it in my time here in the district. Hopefully. Typically people would then move from that sub list. You'll see me bring a recommendation forward where we'd be recommending hiring as individuals.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Further questions?
Okay, so we'll move on to item 9, action items for discussion and possible action. First up is school committee approval of before after school care bid award and contract Meadowbrook Farms Elementary School to Greater Providence YMCA. We'll entertain a motion to approve the bid award. Tim, second by Kevin. Okay, any discussion?
I would just point you to, again, there is a memo, items A and B, just the process for both of these recommendations was the same process that we followed. So just in the goal of looking to expand our before and after school care services, we did put out an RFP. Team was assembled. It included myself, Ms. Baker, again, who couldn't be with us tonight, Mr. Wilmark, our director of facilities, Ms. Prudale was on the group, as well as Mr. Juicy from Meadowbrook, and it also included 2 parents. So we received a number of submissions. We reviewed all of the submissions, according to the RFP, narrowed it down to a list of finalists, who we then set up a meeting opportunity with remotely, and all of those organizations had the opportunity to present to our team. We were able to ask follow-up questions. And as the result of that process, a recommendation came forth to basically we'd be allowing the YMCA to continue their services at Meadowbrook, where they've been for a number of years. Looking ahead, again, if these would both be year-to-year contracts that we could then renew if everything is going well. So looking ahead to the 26-27 school year and beyond, if things are going well there. Continue to go well with the Y at Meadowbrook. As a reminder, we'll be switching over to that early learning center concept there, where it will just be K and pre-K. It would be an opportunity for whichever provider was there to expand. Those pre-K opportunities require a whole other set of licensing requirements. So again, this scenario that we'd be presenting, it kind of would be good that provider there, in this case, the YMCA, would be able to focus on that early childhood age group and all of the licensing requirements that go with that. So with that, we are going to entertain a presentation from the recommendation related to B. There's no presentation from the WIG, and they've been with us in the district for a number of years. So we would just be, my recommendation is this contract, which would continue offering those services at Meadowbrook from the WIG.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a show of hands on those who approve the
Can you have a motion? Or do we have a motion?
I think we
Okay,
have,
sorry,
yeah.
sorry.
It's okay. So on the motion that's on the table, those in favor of awarding the bid to Greater Providence YMCA? Okay, those opposed? Okay, all right, so motion carries. All right, next up, I will entertain a motion to approve the before and after school care bid award and contract for Eldridge, Hannaford, and Frenchtown Elementary Schools to Right at School. Do I have a motion?
Motion and discussion, was that how this?
You can make a motion for discussion purposes and then vote against it if you wanted to. It's just making the motion.
Motion by Claire, second by Kevin.
Okay, so again, same process that I explained, the team that we assembled, including the representatives here, with myself, Ms. Crudo. The recommendation from the team was for the expanded before and after care provider award to go to a new company called to the district called Right at School. We do have, it should be all right. So we have joining us tonight, Julie Lyon, who is the Vice President of District Partnerships for Right at School. And Julie is going to provide an abbreviated version of probably what's already been presented to our team and be able to answer any questions from you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Ooh, I've got feedback coming, but can you hear and see my screen?
We can hear and see you, Julie.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Julie Lyon. I am the Vice President of Education Partnerships with Right at School. I have the distinct pleasure of being with Right at School since day one. So when you said we're a new company, I feel not so new. We've been around since 2000. New to you guys. Yeah. We've been around since 2010. Prior to starting Right at School, I worked for a nonprofit for 15 years, running before and after school programs and directing summer camps in Chicago. And I left that nonprofit to help start Right at School 15 years ago. I live and breathe out of school time for children, and I feel really honored to be here with you guys tonight. We're really excited for the possible partnership with your school district. So for 15 years, our mission is to inspire a love of learning, support schools, and give parents a peace of mind. And we are truly doing that. Sorry, I'm trying to move my faces in front of the screen. We're really doing that across 28 states. We have about 100,000 children in our program every day. But besides that, what I care about the most are the educators that we're hiring within your communities. We love partnering with school districts to hire your paraprofessionals, your aides. We partner with the local colleges and universities. So we really try to keep this feeling homegrown. I come from a nonprofit world, so I always say we're a nonprofit at heart. But because we are a for-profit organization, we're able to have a lot of backing with finances to help us offer better and more options for children. And one thing that really excited me about this, going through this process, is I was really excited that you were going to keep the YMCA at one of your schools. We so value those community partnerships, and we know that eventually we'll become a part of your community. We don't want anyone to lose jobs or to have them not in your district, but that really excited me. And I, for some reason, cannot. Oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So really for us, we want to support students beyond the school day. That's really important. So I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but elementary school children are awake for about 5,000 hours a year, and 20% of those hours hours are spent in your schools during the school day. We started adding up all those hours and we realized that there's an additional 1,000 hours of out of school time available between before school, after school, school days off, continuity of care for summer camps and winter break camps. And so we could be doing so much more. So what I like to say to school districts is, let me look at your strategic goals and how can we be a solution provider to help you achieve them through your academic reinforcement, social emotional development, the most important thing for our kids. We've seen this post-COVID, kids now don't know how to self-navigate. How can we help them during the after school hours? A lot of enrichment and then community connection. And that means, how are your PTAs and PTO groups doing? Can we help them fundraise? Can we provide free babysitting for those PTA meetings so more families can attend those meetings? So it's really becoming a part of, your school district, your strategic plan. And so we know all of your strategic plans. I'm not going to go through this for the sake of time. I don't want to keep you all night, but we look at all of these from academic rigor, whole child focus, operational excellence, and how we're doing that through the extended day. And I will be happy to share this with you guys so you can dive deeper into this. We really want to meet the needs of all families. We concentrate a lot on equity for all, and that means flexible enrollment. So families can choose between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-day options and different pricing for those. So it's not a one size fits all. Families can change their schedule every month. We also offer drop-in care for those families that don't need continuity of care. Inclusion support. We want children who may be differentiated learners to be able to enjoy our program and feel successful in that. We have an inclusion team, and though our staff are really trained how to understand your students' academic, physical, emotional needs. And then equitable pricing. Sibling discounts, 10%. Staff discounts. Anyone that works for East Greenwich will have a 50% discount to have their children in the program. And then we're always offering a 20% discount to any child family that qualifies for free and reduced lunch. That's our subsidy, affordable access. I talk about this often. We partner with a lot of urban school districts, such as Chicago Public Schools, New York City Public Schools. We have a lot of homeless children in our programs. Those children should not have to pay for programs. So we work closely with the school principals to determine who needs care, who needs help, who can't afford it, and how can we make sure that they're a part of our programming. This is the pricing that we have put in our RFP response to offer for the school district. We were actually able to drop the pricing a little bit from what the current provider, the YMCA, is doing. And so I won't read through all of it, but you can see where the savings that families are having for before school, for 5 days a week and so on, and then our combo rate and after school. And then here is the list of all of our discounts. We also offer a 10 punch card for families that maybe don't need that continuity of care or a drop-in. We're also able to do non-school days. So if you decided you wanted a winter break camp or a spring break camp, we can certainly offer that as well. We will do as much or as little as the district needs. That what we believe is what a true partner does. We are also giving 10% of the revenue back to the school district, and that's on all of our programs per the response in our RFP. Now I can tell you how great our programs are, but it's about the people that we put in your programs. And as I said earlier, it's really about coaching and developing our educators, and those are paraprofessionals in your schools or aides. You can't hire them after school because of union or because of their benefits, but we can take them on our payroll and start hiring them in those before and after school hours. So once we're assuming we're board approved, we immediately start with hiring, and we have an entire team of recruiters that will be in the area. We're also partnering with Portsmouth School District, and we're already starting to get a ton of applicants in that area who are looking for these part-time hours before school and after school. Each school will have a program manager, and then we'll have our educators within the program. Principals will have a say in who we hire. We want them to meet who's going to be in their schools every day. And as I said, training is so important. Our staff go through a rigorous training before they ever enter into your schools. And that includes, what are your drills in your schools? What does behavior management look like? What does classroom management look like? How do you work with children in the before and after school hours? We want our educators to feel joy and safety and working with your children. And we say this a lot about the joy and safety in our programs. That's what we want parents and principals and educators to walk in and feel a lot of joy in our programs. And so this is just a brief snapshot of what that roadmap forward would be. We really want this to be hands-off in the sense that you don't have to worry about anything. And I assume that's the way it is currently with the YMCA at Meadowbrook. And we want that to be the same at the other schools. So you can be as hands-on or as hands-off as you need. But assuming tonight we are board approved and that final agreement, we will move right into finalizing the details of the program, which we're currently starting to look at on the back end here at Right at School. And then we'll do a parent forum. So for those 3 schools, we'll have a virtual parent forum. We can also do it on site if that's what you so choose. We find that about virtual at 6 p.m. We invite all those parents on. We tell them about the program, and then we teach them how to register to go to our website. And then we'll open up our parent registration, and we handle all the marketing and communications. And we want to be a part of whatever's happening in the spring before school lets out in just a couple short months. So we're ready to rock and roll at that first day of school in the fall. And then we do our hiring, staffing, and training, and then have our materials delivered. But we'll hit the ground running with our licensing, which is really important for us at Right at School. So we're able to take state subsidy. So that was a lot really fast. And so I want to open this up to any questions you may have. I'm here to answer any questions, concerns. I hope I didn't talk too fast. I tend to do that. I'm very passionate about what we do here.
So you mentioned you're working, do you have a signed contract currently with Portsmouth?
We do. Yep. We've already
Okay.
started that process. We replaced another provider in the district.
Okay. Is that your first location in Rhode Island?
It actually is. We were in Rhode Island many years ago in East Providence, but due to low enrollment, we had about 3 children registered. It was not a sustainable program. We always have 2 educators or staff members on site. We never want to have 1. So many years ago, we decided in conjunction with the district that there was not that need in East Providence.
Can you tell us a little bit about your operating model, this idea that you come into a local community and you hire? I'll preface that by saying that we've done a little bit of due diligence on your company. You don't have glowing reviews across the board. Personally, I'm very skeptical about a private equity owned company that is growing quite rapidly, trying to scale. You're on your 2nd private equity owner. I don't need to tell you, but you're owned by a company that specializes in private credit, alternative assets, distressed debt. If the AI bubble doesn't burst first, the private credit bubble will. So your ownership structure is a little problematic from my standpoint. But it seems like, again, you're trying to open, you call them partnerships. You're trying to, sell your services to a lot of school districts very rapidly. And there's a lot of wordy content and educational packaging that comes out of, the home office. But really, this is something that is hyper local in the sense that it gets delivered locally and it's fully dependent on who you hire. And you've had some problems. You may know this, Julie, but one of the things that we've all read before tonight is what happened in Princeton, New Jersey. I'll speak for myself. I lived in Princeton, New Jersey for 20 years. My kids went through the Princeton public schools. I asked my friend who served on the school board there what he thought. So, you had some really serious issues there. And they all came down to staffing and training unqualified people in something that blew up and was quite ugly. Now, that's one example. Obviously, you have a national footprint and, one bad apple shouldn't,
Upset the apple. Yep.
cause the judgment. But there are actually quite a few of these things when one goes trolling online and looking for them. So I want to ask you about your business model. It seems to me like you're a company that's trying to grow very fast. You have so here's the last thing too, I'll tell you. I mean, I looked up your founder and some of his investments and some of his other things. So conscious discipline. I'm sure it sounds like if you've been there from the inception, you guys are probably close. Tell him to be really careful about his persona on Substack. He comes across as an entitled jerk, quite honestly. But this is a company that is growing really fast. And I just think about this, and it's wholly dependent on coming in, finding people, trying to train them in your ways, trying to qualify them and make sure that they're good. Yes, you can grab some paras and stuff like that, but it seems like you're growing at all costs, and this is not a model that's easily replicable. The fact that you haven't been in this area in this state isn't particularly comforting either. So help me out with that. Tell me why.
There is a lot to unpack here, and I want to. Okay, I don't know your name. Sorry.
A company. Forget my name. Tim. A company that's so hyped out on growth. It's such a fragile operating model. Help me out with that.
So I just want to pull back a little bit. We are a company focused on growth because there is such a need for out of school time care for families, right? Like the working parents. If you look at any of the research, as a working parent myself, the work productivity goes down at 3 o'clock because we don't know where our children are at 3 o'clock. Who are they with? What are they doing? What are they eating? Are they on tech? Yeah, we are growing really fast because families need this, and any of the other players in the market, just like us, are also private equity owned, backed, doing the same thing. Yep, maybe you're not seeing that in the nonprofit world, which is my heart and soul is where I came from. I have a better opportunity to serve more children in the before and after school hours working with Right at School because it's not non-for-profit, right? We're able to have the finance to back us up to offer better training, to offer better curriculum. Our founder, he's no longer with Right at School, right? He's sort of moved on. I have not read his Substack, so I don't know what that looks like, but you can be rest assured I'm going to look. In regards to Princeton, that was a rough one for me. I live in New Jersey. I live about 45 minutes from Princeton. It was a great partnership. We decided to pull out after some of those things came to light. That was really hard for Right at School. I will say that unfortunately, that staff member was background checked, fingerprinted, cleared, everything. Nothing has been founded, right? So I don't know what that board member had mentioned to you guys. I don't know the backstory. I can't share anything that I know, obviously. But I'm not really sure how to answer that. It happens in these kinds of accusations happen in school districts every day, unfortunately, right? But
yeah, it wasn't just one bad apple, though. I mean, it was, again, I think the flaw in your model, which is you come in and you quickly have to staff up. And these are, people that are dealing with, the youngest students.
Yeah.
And, also obviously, and I know you talk a lot about it and you have an inclusion effort and stuff like that, but, kids who present with all kinds of different challenges. And the idea that you can create the staff that's a reasonable approximation of what they get during the school day by just sweeping in and going on this hiring, thing and trying to pull it together. And then that you can, give them, I have to say, I mean, I admire your collateral at least, and hopefully the service delivery, because it's impressive about what you say you deliver, but it's also overwhelming. I can't imagine training a part-time college kid on, the Right at School, concealed learning or whatever you call it and all that kind of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, Tim, I just want to say that I think it's really important that they are trained in that way because as you said, they are working with our youngest children. We're working with preschool through 8th grade kids. They have to be trained. They have to follow that training. If they don't, they don't stay. We changed a lot after Princeton, right? With Pass the Trash in New Jersey. I think it's important to note that that is that structure is really important because we are working with your 3s, 4s, and 5-year-olds. Right. So yeah. And so each school, that's why I said to you, we don't have just one staff person. Like in East Providence, we couldn't be successful there because of 3 children and we couldn't have 2 staff there at all times. I would recommend, I could give you any school board member of our current clients right now. I would put you in touch with a lot of them that you can talk and get other experiences with. you're always going to read bad reviews, right? People don't go on these review sites like Indeed or Google and say glowing things. They go there when they want to complain. So we are always striving to do good, be good. And I'm really proud of the work we're doing across the country. And I really hope that's something we're doing in Rhode Island
I
eventually.
appreciate it. I'm going to be a
Yeah.
no because my friend served 3 terms on the Board of Education. He's on the town council. He used to work in private equity. He knows exactly, what your business model is. And he texted me one word back, which was avoid. So I'm sorry to, I'm a no. I don't really like your business model. I think you're growing too fast. I think it's a very wobbly model. It's largely unproven here. And so I'm a no, but thank you.
I appreciate that. I totally respect that decision.
Sure you do.
Can I, thank you for visiting us and being patient with all of our questions. I'm curious so you started with this program back when it was like, what was the origin? How did it start? What was
So I was working for the Jewish Community Centers in Chicago for 15 years, running before and after school programs in Chicago public schools. And our CEO, who Tim mentioned, our former CEO, was also working for that nonprofit and decided to leave to start the Right at School back in 2011. And we kind of went from there. We partnered with Chicago Public Schools first, then expanded very small in Illinois, and then went Midwest. And the need was so great. We were doing a lot of thought leadership across the country at conferences about the importance of out of school time for our children. And that need quickly grew.
And did it start as a for-profit company?
We've always been for profit.
I did my year of service in AmeriCorps Vista in before and after school programming, but that was a long time ago. So I totally agree with the importance of like making that time educational, and not only really for working parents, but also for like, there's a lot of work that says that it's important for kids who need to be like keeping up with, to be in an enriching childcare program is a benefit to kids who otherwise might fall behind. Yes.
There's a lot of, as you probably know, there's a lot of working in this. There's a lot of studies that show that kids in really engaging before and after school programs have better test scores, better attendance, better social emotional, better mental health. So yeah, that's right. Like it's for the working parent, but I love the ones that are they don't need to go, they get to go. Like they ask their parents, hey, I want to go to that after school program. A lot of it is homework help. We survey families twice a year to find out what's most important to you. And we often hear, we want our children to come home at 6 o'clock with their homework complete so we can sit down for dinner and have family time. So we're able to sit with the kids and actually have them go home with their homework complete. And a lot of parents now, and I was one of those parents who kind of didn't know how to do homework starting in 5th grade. The math had changed so much and I didn't know how to help my kids with that. And we're really training our educators on how to do that.
So the in terms of like accessibility, there's a discount for students or families that receive free and reduced lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And can you talk about like the capacities and how many students you anticipate being able to serve, or like it seems like we're coming into, I don't know if this is something we've done, but like we're starting a new structure of having big schools with more of a range of age of kids. So we're still kind of wrapping our minds around that. Can you talk about how you conceive of like a 1st to 5th grade after school or before school program, like the size, how the space would be used, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So the truth is we don't know because you don't have a program in these 3 schools right now. In Meadowbrook, you have the YMCA program, and these 3 schools, we don't know what the need is going to be at. All we know is the chatter of like, hey, we need care, like we need something before and after school. We typically see around 10% of the school enrollment utilizing before and after school programs. I do think that may be a little bit lower in our first year. So we'll see what that looks like. We have many schools that have 25 kids all the way up to 200 kids utilizing the programs. So I think that's why we're here in April, knowing that school starts August, September. We're starting now to do that hiring, and we're starting now to do that training and get marketing and registration open, blasting out to families, coming out to any kind of events that you have at the end of the school year to let parents know that we will be there before and after school so we can get families registered. But we have that capacity, as many kids as that need these programs. I would say that we typically don't have wait lists. Sometimes we do. We won't know until we start getting that registration open to see how many kids actually need before and after school care.
And so full disclosure, I have concerns about the private equity aspect of this. But I also understand that like you didn't start this company planning on being bought out or like being transferred, right? I mean, that's kind of how business.
No.
You can grow the company and you can seek capital in different ways. Private equity tends to be, a little more extractive.
Meaning that it takes.
It's looking for efficiencies far and away above and beyond what a normal, growth-oriented business would be. And they're on their second private equity owner. So, a typical holding period is 5 to 7 years maybe and stuff like that. So they were run by a company called Prairie Capital, I think, Julie, right?
Sure.
And now they're another company. Private equity isn't evil across the board, but if you're on your second private equity ownership, that means you are hell-bent on scaling, scaling, and that's what the private equity company wants to see, which basically means we want to open as many locations as possible and be all over the place and stuff like that. And that's where the operating model gets sloppy. That's where, the marketing is great, the value proposition is great. The ability to deliver it on the ground is really, really hard. It's not your fault necessarily, Julie, but, you don't know how many families you're going to be serving, right? I would want to, have some assessment through a survey or something like that to, understand, what the coverage requirements would be before I got into it. The pricing, again, I think that, it's smart, I guess. Every school district is starved in the country is starved for revenue. So returning 10% to a school district certainly has its attractions. I might rather see you return that money to the families who are paying for the service.
Listen, Tim, it was part of the RFP process. If that is, we can certainly.
We had options and that's the one that we chose.
Yeah, it feels like, I got to tell you, it feels like you're buying our vote to a degree. Anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, I'll be frank with you. I'd rather have no revenue share and be able to drop pricing, but school districts right now are going bankrupt. They need money. So whatever works for the school district will do, right? I don't put it on the backs of the parents.
I think we're torn between the desire to have a partner and to make sure we pick the right one. And I know it's only for a year, but we don't want to have a poor experience for a year. You've got some blemishes on your record. And again, I just say this operating model is a little challenging about how many people you're going to need and how you train them and how they deliver all this kind of stuff. And anyway, it's just too fraught for.
I will say, I certainly would share your concerns, Tim, but it is much less expensive than the other two options that families are going to choose now for care. It's probably like.
Well, that is a thing for the record. In the future, when we have these RFPs, it's helpful to see all the bids so we can, compare them.
I'm talking about the bids, I'm talking about other options.
I'm talking about other options.
Yeah, but they'd have their pricing schedules in there and stuff.
But that's one of the things I think that is a concern. Like it feels like this is so overwhelming. I'm just going to be really thoughtful because parents need a safe place for their kids to be like, absolutely.
I hear from people every week asking for these services.
Yeah. And that it was, when it was only about like that the idea of having it on site is like so wonderful. The large picture of the effect of these kinds of groups coming in, undercutting being much less expensive than the local place, being much more flexible than a small place can be. And like the fellow's been doing it for a long time. And then the concern about like, how do we know, how do you, I have no reason to mistrust you. You got into this for, valuable reasons, I guess. But like, how do you plan for things not to get worse once that the other, God forbid, I mean, like the other places go out of business because everybody just goes to this place because it's so much less
The
expensive.
other places are not going out of business.
No, I mean, like,
They have another model
The
that they
place on the street that's
operate.
been around for 25 years is not going out of
but
business.
if competition, well, that's the thing, it's like if competition goes down, I mean, that's the whole idea with private equity, right? Is that it sort of like takes those like little things, and this is the thing, like, I understand this is capitalism and we agreed to it when we were born, right? Like, but I want to make sure that we're being careful with the students and the family's experience to make sure that there's not going to be a loss of safety, quality, and I don't know what the word is, like being beholden, like that it's that we are like, we have to watch out for the students who are here. And if it's a company that's from outside, they can close and disappear and then just go on to the next thing that's in the private equity, like portfolio. I don't know.
Do you
I hope
train
that-
your staff on conscious discipline? Because that's a sister company. And
No,
we
do
took a
not.
look at that. Okay.
we do not.
I don't know what that is.
That would make your hair stand up.
She had mentioned,
Absolutely not. We have our own proprietary curriculum. Yeah.
you had mentioned that you'll work with us to understand what our positive behavior intervention systems are, to be able to carry over the same language and to have consistency with our existing school model, not putting the burden on us, but carrying through the authentic approach we use with our children so that it becomes part of the language they're using after school. So that was something that was noted in the interview process and something that she had briefly mentioned tonight.
And that sounds terrific. And like that sort of like individualizing.
I think what I read about conscious discipline, which I spent some time on, is it's all this thing about adult regulating, and it's all about how the adults, need to be trained in how they respond to children and to
That's with
understand
any
the-
program.
We have nothing to do with conscious discipline. I just want to clear that up.
It didn't feel very child-centric for a before or after school program. It felt a little.
I'm super curious now because it sort of sounds a little like Gwyneth Paltrow, kind of, but I mean, adults do need they need to be the thermostat, not the thermometer, like they have to regulate their own selves, but that's sort of, however we feel about that, and that is not on the table, conscious discipline, whatever that is.
I don't know about conscious discipline, and that is not to write at school. Yeah.
Ask your founder, he's in that one too.
Well,
Our founder's not, I don't talk to him that way. Yeah, I don't know, but I'm going to redo my research when we hang up.
we all need to find a subset, but I guess my related but unrelated to that particular question is like, who's here? Like who do the parents see? Who do the families see and interact with?
So we'll have an area manager in the area that we're hiring right now that will be Portsmouth and East Greenwich schools. There'll be one area manager, and then each school of the 3 schools that we'll be in will have a program manager on site every day. That will be the closest person to the principal in the school secretary. They will be the ones with the children, and then the educators. So it'll be a minimum of 2 people within the school every day before and after school that are working in each of the 3 schools. It's called a program manager and educator, and then we have an area manager that visits all the schools.
I'm inclined, I feel like I'm balancing 2 different concerns here. One of which is just like, we need to do something for families need something. And the other is that if any other, like basically we're just, this is a thing that doesn't exist yet, that we're contracting as kind of.
Well,
right?
it exists. The YMCA is doing it at Meadowbrook. It's pretty much the same thing.
No, I mean, it doesn't, there's not like a group, like the YMCA, like we know who works at the YMCA, we know who we can call them. But we don't know who's gonna be working in this program yet when we sign this. contract. Is that correct?
We have to know that we're going to be partnering to be doing the hiring, but we're already doing the hiring in the area anyways with Portsmouth. So we've already started that path. Right? So
You can't get there from here. There's a big bay in between.
I know. I know my geography, but we're already like in the process. So I
And
don't,
I'm this man, maybe that's totally normal. It feels a little funny to like if I walked in and was like, I'm gonna start a daycare program, as soon as I get the contract, I will hire somebody. I don't think people would be with that. So I guess it's just sort of it's the institution of the history of this.
I think
Hire-
it's the same
right.
thing if it was going to be, let's say the YMCA was going to take over the other three schools, right? They would also be out hiring and
Any of the
interviewing.
companies that we.
Or any of the other, I don't even know who those companies are, but any of them, we'd be doing the interviewing, the hiring. It's the same process. We love the Y, right? They're a great partner with us. We partner in many school districts where we run alongside them. That's the beauty of, right, like you said, competition. We're just providing more care and options for families, and they kind of get to choose like where do they want their kids spending the before and after school hours. Some go home somewhere with a babysitter, some get on a bus and go to the local daycare. We just want to provide it right at school, right? So we're mitigating that transition from getting on a bus or less expensive than that babysitter.
I'd like to just re-articulate my question because I think I kind of got lost. The concern that I have about this, about the eroding of the competition in the community and that being kind of the model of the private equity strategy, right? It's just sort of like, my concern is that how does that impact and because there are real people here, right? Like you're a real person. There's no reason to think that you have any nefarious intentions, but it's still a lot of unknowns. So how do you reassure people, families and districts that will become attached to you that if there isn't if nobody else, if no new companies come through, if everything is sort of like pushed down by the presence of this group, that the standards will stay the same, that the costs will stay the same, the cost of the families will stay the same, like that everything will not, the way that it has like in like hospitals where things just become just terrible. I feel like I'm like maybe being a little bit emotional about this, but it's scary.
I think we have a 60-day where if we don't, on our end, we can always cancel. So
Yes,
if we
I
ever
guess,
see the writing on the wall and it's affecting our community, then we can just cancel the deal.
Yes.
Is that right, Aubrey?
Yeah, that's how our.
I would just say,
You need a 60-day cancellation. That's it. It's essentially a year, would be a year to your release with a 60-day notice
Yeah.
that we wanted to cancel.
So
Yeah.
we
But that's-
felt it was killing the economy for all those other businesses, like what Claire's talking about, then we can just put that into something we like to do.
Well, what are your success metrics? I mean, how do you measure your success in a district? And how would you say we should measure your impact?
I think that our NPS score, right? Like if you guys know about, I'm sure you all know about NPS, right?
With parents? Net
Yes,
promoter-
we do it with parents, we do it with the principals, we do it with our school leaders, and I would be happy to share those with you after, detailed by district. Our measure of success is our surveys from our families. How are they doing? Are they happy? Are they not happy? I always say the measure of success is, are you getting complaints, right? Like that is number one, that we want them to come to us. Our retention rate year after year is top in the industry. So I'm sorry, I don't know your name next to Tim. I so appreciate all your questions because, yep, hi. I'm a mom too. I get it. I so feel this so deeply. I'm a former teacher. And it's always scary. Like anytime there's something new with our kids and before and after school, even their teachers, we're like, our anxiety raises and we're like, who's going to be with our kids? If you're not happy or the district isn't happy, then it's not a good fit, right? Like then we bow out. We just say, hey, give your parents enough time to find alternatives. But from the RFP that was put out, we know there's a need. We want to be that solution provider for you. And that's why it's only a year contract. You can get out in 60 days. I don't believe that will happen. I really don't. I don't like to say the saying like, give us a shot, because like we've been doing this for 15 years and I understand I sort of understand how you're feeling about the private equity. I don't though, because it's allowed us to have more financials in to have better programming for kids that maybe some not-for-profits can't. We are sort of like that nonprofit at heart. We care so much about kids and having equity for families. And so I can't, I don't think from this call I'm going to convince you to say yes, right? Like you got to go with your heart.
Just to give clarity on the contract. So it's a 1-year contract. There is a termination on their end if we have a low enrollment. There's a termination for default. So if one party materially fails to observe or perform any piece of this contract. And then there's a termination for convenience, which is a 90-day notice. So it's like it would be like 3 months and then you could end it.
And I get a question for you, Tom, with two questions. Where would the service take place? And can you just speak about like the vetting you did with the group and how you came to?
Sure. So as far as like actual physical location in each of the schools, I mean, typically, again, if this were to be put in motion and right as school would go through that timeline that Julie shared, their people who are going to work on site would come out, meet with the principals and have to decide on that location. I don't think we have a lot of options at our schools. We're looking at probably cafeteria, right, for space gyms. You know, those are where these programs typically take place, just like the Y currently at Meadowbrook. But yeah, I mean, I'm the superintendent. I make hundreds of decisions every day for you as the school committee, right? You entrust me with that. I'm trying to fill a need that we have in the community. We put out an RFP. I assembled a team that included district representatives, a couple of principals, a couple of parents. We went through a process reviewing all of the RFPs and materials, checking references, whittled it down to a list of finalists, allowed each of those finalists to make a presentation to the team, have a question and answer period, probably more of a process than these companies are used to going through for, answering a bid like this. But I wanted to make sure that whatever I put in front of you, I could stand behind. So again, I don't think I've ever given you reason to doubt the decision making and the processes I followed before. And I know you have, again, a lot of questions based on research that you've done, but everything, all the research that I have done and the process that we followed led us to this decision. This was overwhelmingly the top choice for expanding services into our schools. You know, keeping the Y at Meadowbrook and then going with Bright at School for our other schools. It's a 1-year contract, which we can get out of if things aren't going well.
And you've been saying this solves the need. So, I mean, I work with private equity at work, so I'm not a fan for it here. I wish we had like some type of Mandami thing, but if I have your back, then you have mine. So that's all I got.
I think I have a similar, my sense is that I definitely trust our leadership here. I have a concern like globally about the dissolution of our communities, but we have a more immediate need. Like our charge is to for the care and education of our students, and that's what we're dealing with immediately. And we have no reason to think that we're not in a good place for that, to do it for a year. I agree. I wish I can't believe that we have that. It's a cultural issue, honestly.
I mean, I feel that I trust our leadership in their decisions. At the same time, I'm very uncomfortable with this whole private equity for-profit model. Because what bothers me is, okay, you say this allows you to have more capital available for these programs. What happens when you're not meeting the profit targets for your bosses? What happens then?
Are you asking?
Well, that's but yeah, I mean, there's again, Julie, I feel bad. I believe
Tim, don't feel bad. I've been around, I've done this before.
Your
You're
passion
good.
for education and everything you've done. That said, your corporate overlords sitting in Toronto are issuing you as the national director of partnerships, some target to, open
Tim, please,
units. Yeah.
one thing I ask of you, like, that is not who I am. I am here to help children. I'm not a salesperson.
I
Please.
don't mean to suggest otherwise. I thought I was saying that to you.
Yes.
Prefacing my remarks. So
Okay.
this is not about you. It is about your ownership structure. I wish, it were otherwise. But what my colleague Jean just said is, and again, this is a risk. Let's say you had a decent year and you gave us an NPS score that was pretty good, and we wanted to renew and stuff like that. You have pricing power over us too when you get entrenched like this. And you have a different kind of pricing power than a locally, managed and led unit would have. And there's that to worry about also. I really have a frame of reference for this pricing schedule you gave us. That is something I would appreciate versus the other bids and stuff like that. The things I was able to go, look into myself were your staff to student ratio, which is, seems absolutely right on target, and some other things. I don't know the pricing that much. I know there are a lot of families in the community who desperately need this service, but who also have some income constraints on it. You said before, Melissa, this is cheaper than other options.
Significantly cheaper.
I don't know that. I wish we knew that
Cheaper
before.
I
knew that before.
Cheaper than the Y.
Yeah, but
Well,
how is that true?
It's cheaper as an introductory price, just like we're getting 10%.
So Tim, I will say a lot of
trial.
Districts say, hey, we want the pricing structure for the next 3 years in the contract, which we can certainly do. Our pricing typically is household living increases like 2 to 3% every year. So if you guys come to us and say, hey, can we get the pricing for the next 3 years and put it in the contract, we can certainly do that. So we're not coming in and saying, oh, next year we're going to be $100 more expensive. That's just not how we operate. I guess trust is earned, right? So I can tell you all the things right now. I don't know how to convince you, but I think that over time you will be able to see that trust is earned.
But does that answer your question, Jean?
I think that would be a step in the right direction of some sort of a guarantee going forward against.
I'm just gonna say, unless you want to get into a 3-year contract with them, it's gonna be hard for that to be legally binding because that won't actually be part of a contract. They could say,
you could create a contract that's some performance based year by year with some cap on pricing.
But it would probably be a multi-year contract, though.
Yeah, that would be the issue because it would be a little bit legally complicated to figure out if you have absolutely zero obligation to them, but they're locking in a price. You have to figure it out. And it's definitely not in there right now. And it is a little more complicated than saying.
So I guess I will also say it wouldn't behoove us.
That would be an issue.
We wouldn't be a good partner if I were to say today, here's our pricing and next year we're doubling it. It would make you look bad. It would make us look bad. The parents wouldn't be happy. That's our goal here, is really just to provide equitable programming for families and create safety and joy in our before and after school programs. I guess it's like, I don't know how I can have you believe me when I say that. If you go to our website and look at the pricing year from year in different districts, you'll see that. And we can certainly, I'm not the solicitor in the room, but we can certainly figure out a way to put in the contract that the pricing for next year.
Well, it was $320 a year in Princeton 2 years ago for the 5-day a week. And so it's $390 here. Now that's a more expensive market than we are here too.
So it's very hard to do apples to apples because you don't know how long that school day is, right? Like some programs are 2:30 to 6, some are 2 to 5, some are 3 to 6, some are 4 to 6. So it's really, you can't look at what Princeton's pricing is. And also whoever Princeton had, I think it was the YMCA before, we came in at their pricing. So if I were to come in we certainly could have came in at the exact pricing for the YMCA, but we look at the market. We do a whole pro forma to look at the market. What are current providers currently charging for families in the out of school time? And we come in and see what we can do the best for families with giving that revenue share, with offering the discounts for families and siblings and military and anyone on free and reduced lunch. So that's sort of how we go through that process. So you can't really look at what in New Jersey, right, is what we're doing at Princeton or what we would do at East Greenwich.
I understand.
So you talked about hiring paras and staff within the district in the RFP and what you said today kind of as a priority. Can you speak to sort of what that looks like in the hiring process? Like how are you marketing those folks, and do you have any metrics as far as percentages of staff that are employed by the district in which they're serving in this?
Yeah, I can't really go over metrics because every school district is different. We have a lot of school districts where all of our employees are paraprofessionals. We have other districts. Wow, I've got me behind you, and it's very distracting to see myself.
Our lights went out. That's why it's gonna be less.
Okay, I was like, wow. So that I can't exactly give you metrics on that, but if we are board approved tonight, that literally triggers us to start. We will do a staff forum where we would send out information to staff at all the schools, letting them know that we're going to have these job.
How would you get contact information for the staff in the schools?
We work with the principals at each school. So we would set up, if we're board approved, then we would start partnering with the principals to start getting licensing started to look at the space that we're utilizing in the schools. It's actually whoever is the point person in the district, who I don't know who that would be yet because we haven't gotten that far to say, what does this look like? Is it the director of facilities? Each school is different, so each space is different. Each candidate applicant pool is different. So we will work with the principals there. Some districts don't want their paraprofessionals working. Others are like, yes, please give them more hours, they need it. So that's how we start the process of doing interviews. We assume that because they're working in your school district during the day, that they do qualify to work in the before and after school programming. We are licensed in Rhode Island, so they have to follow all those metrics as well.
And everyone has to be approved by the principal, is that right?
Yeah.
The entire period. Does that mean the principal meets every person that comes to me?
No, we'll start doing the hiring, and we'll have these candidates, and we'll meet with the principal to say, these are the people we're hiring. How do you feel about them? Some principals say, I don't want to meet them. That's fine. Start. And then they come visit the program. I have other principals who are completely hands off who.
Okay.
Would that be a challenge for the district to operate?
I mean, I have some concerns around that, just because I feel like one of the reasons why you're hiring an outside entity to do this, right, is so that we don't have that kind of legal liability and us being very involved in the hiring process.
I think it's a partnership, right? You can be as involved.
I'm just saying it.
Or not involved as you want. That's completely up to you. Like I said, we have some districts who are like, we trust you from the start. We believe that you're doing the right thing, and other districts who want to be a part of the process. I think through the RFP process, that was more of like we trust you to do this and do all the hiring. And we're trying to make our district administrators' lives easier, especially at the school level.
Okay, so there might be some, like as a parent, I'm like, okay, well, I would like the principal to meet and shake hands with every person who ever meets my child ever, but I understand that that's legally.
Well, and that might be fine if that's what you decide to do. I'm just letting you know, like from a legal liability standpoint, we're really starting to now get into
bus company here is probably the best.
Yes.
Analogy, right? Where
as you know, we've had like different other districts who may have had recent issues with bus monitors. And in that situation, or in all situations with bus monitors, bus drivers, we don't meet all those people. Like we have a contract with them that says this is the vetting you need to go through.
That's buses, I hate to say. I mean, that's qualitatively very different. This is an enrichment program. This is high touch with students. It's not driving a bus.
Check kind of situation where we wouldn't want to be, I would think.
What I would propose is, I think we have a little more information we want to gather. I think we want to have a discussion about price, about some contract protection. I'm certainly not in a position to approve this. Tom, I'll be as direct as I can. Please don't take it this way that we don't trust your recommendation. I just think we have a lot of knowledge gaps. I wish we had been able to surface some of these concerns and had a discussion before we got to the point where we want to vote, because I'm not prepared to vote yes right now. Maybe I'm the only one. You can go ahead and try, but I think it would behoove us to get a little more information and to kick the tires on this a little more. So
I appreciate that. The only thing I worry about, whether it's right at school or anyone else, is that now you're going to push this a month, and then you may not start on time, right? And if that's okay, that's fine. If your parents don't need care right away, I get it.
I'm fully cognizant of that. I don't think it would be a month. I don't love it's not you doing, I don't love it's brought to us at a point where we have a gun to our head. I think we could have done a little more due diligence and had some of these discussions earlier in the process, to be fully candid. So that's just the way it is. That's my personal point of view.
You've known about,
I'm sorry.
not to the level of detail you might have had in the backup as of Friday, but you've known about the recommendation for weeks.
So one thing I told you is we're in the custom of getting all the RFP submissions from all providers so that we can look at them all and weigh them against each other, and obviously factor in the superintendent recommendation and this committee recommendation highly and stuff like that. But it just, in the absence of that, it's hard to, jump into this. And I feel terrible because I know there's a crushing need in the community for this, and I know time's a wasted. But, again, this is just me. Take a vote. Maybe, there's been plenty of votes where I'm the lone wolf.
It's like, if you're gonna take a vote, you should probably do a roll call. Just. Listen.
Like 1 by 1. Amy calls the roll, and just because seems like there's possibly going to be a divided vote, it's a good idea to do a roll call vote in this kind of situation. Just a suggestion.
Okay, so.
And I would say, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Good chat.
You feel we've had enough discussion at this point? And I mean, I think this is an important decision and it deserves.
I'm not sure
our
we can get
attention.
to death. This is it's basically a school day for the kid. I mean, it's like another school day. I think it's a pretty important thing. I mean, I think some of the issues that I will say I present are institutional, have nothing to do with this particular company, and are just concerns I think we need to probably deal with as a district. But of all the things to spend a lot of time talking about, it seems like
There's no crystal ball. You can't ask what if this, what if this, what if this, we can't answer every single unknown. It's a contract.
yes, but the just being the cheapest thing sounds like it's the most important thing to you. And I feel like
There's a high touch education and enrichment service behind that contract.
When I saw this, I already have my daughter registered for something else next year that is a lot more expensive. You brought up that, and I looked at this, I was like, this is great. I'm going to register my daughter for this. You brought up that point. I'm not registering my daughter for this next year. I'm going to keep her where she is. I'd rather pay more money because of the concerns you listed. That doesn't mean that I think that we need to ask that we can't vote on it. And you said you're reading this guy's freaking Substacks, but you're not looking, go to aimhigh.com, go to sweetpea.com and see what the prices are. Okay.
Oh, no, I didn't do that. I didn't.
Okay, so you're reading the Substacks, but you're saying we shouldn't.
I like to get the pricing in my packet.
no, but that's the same thing if you go to.
I just sent it to you. It's on your email.
I looked at anyway.
I just wanted to make one correction. As a sitting member of the committee that brought forth this, and it was a unanimous decision to bring forth this group. The decision wasn't made because it's the cheapest. It was the quality of the programming. We had a rating scale, we had a rubric, we pondered many elements, and ultimately the one thing as an educator and one of your administrators in this district, I'm disappointed that no one asked a question about, can you give me some of the experiences that children will have during your before and after school programming that will be enriching, that will make it quality time with the children so that you're expanding their thinking, their depth of learning.
Well, that was in the packet. We read all that.
Also, but
I understand, but hammering home what you have hammered, important, but it's equally important to recognize that Julie should have an opportunity to talk about the programming, because as an administrator, that's where my focus is.
And Mary, can I just clarify that was a total dig from me to Melissa to kind of dig at her about the cost? I don't think at all, in no way do I think the cost was a factor influencing you all at all.
I just wanted to
That was
clarify,
really
because I
just me trying to
know.
like poke at Melissa a little bit, but, which, you know.
Yeah, and please understand, I mean, this is the same thing I'd say that I just said, to the superintendent, I'd say to you, it's not that, people who are not educators by profession don't trust the judgment of educators. That's not it at all. There's a lot of due diligence that we have to look at. We're the bridge between the community and the school district. And we know enough about education to be dangerous in many cases too. So all I'm saying is, for my part, I'm only speaking for myself, I have a lot of questions. And I'm being asked to vote on something where I have a lot of questions that I would like answered. It doesn't mean we don't believe that, you are committed to this, or Tom is committed to this, or
I'm
the
just
committee did
clarifying
good
statements
did
of
good
doubt
work.
that were made.
Yeah,
in a
well,
public
it's the
forum.
other thing, but
As a
we're also
Senate
not the
member,
Japanese
I felt
cat
I
with the
needed
arm
to
that goes up
address
and
that.
down like this, and we just, we put something before us and we vote.
I'm sorry.
We don't do that.
So
We should,
And I only said the price was inexpensive because Tom said it was, Tim said it was expensive. That wasn't my, because Tim said this is expensive, and I said, no, it's not. That was the only reason why I wanted the price.
so
just
do I
also-
call for a roll call vote?
Can we,
I think it makes sense, but unless there's more.
I just feel like Marianne has no, I feel like maybe we've said things that have been disparaging or felt disparaging or insulting to the committee, and that it was not my intention at all. And I want to be very clear that, like, I have complete trust in our educators. I have a lot of concerns about private equity. And as a reader of all the things, it has been very, like, it is almost to the point of a moral panic at this point. And the lack of accountability that goes along with it, and the way that it's impacted other areas. This particular company is no better or worse than any other company in my mind. Like, it's not, and this particular philosophy and everything else seems great. And I'm happy to take a chance on it for a year. I am. But I have an issue with, or I have a deep concern about the fact that we have created a system where childcare is so underpaid, undervalued, and then it's turned into that there is a profit part of it is concerning. Like, that's the piece of it. Does that resonate at all?
I was just clarifying some statements that were made to understand where we're coming, and basically to add to what Dr. Kenworthy had already eloquently explained about the process that we followed.
And I think
It was
since
just a
it's not
clarifying point.
this person who we're talking to is not going to be the person who recruited children,
Right.
right? That's my biggest anxiety. Like, they're not even in this state. So there's a big leap we're taking with our.
Okay, I understand. I have the same concerns you have, Claire. I mean, I absolutely trust the judgment of our professionals in the district. At the same time, I see a company that's making us kind of a loss leader potentially. But that said, we need to take a vote at this point. So I'm going to call for a roll call vote.
Yes, and so the clerk will read off each person's name, and then you just go, yeah, you turn it.
Dr. Quinn,
Yes.
Ms. Cecil Hart,
Yes.
Mr. Hangan,
Yes.
Ms. Larson,
Yes.
This
Mr. Munoz,
thing. To contract.
Tim,
Approve it.
you're
Yes,
voting
you
yes or
guys
no?
You might say no.
To approve the contract.
Yes.
No.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
so ayes have it,
Passes.
it passes 5-1.
I look forward to proving that we will be a great partner with you guys. I'm going to come out and see you. Tim, I want to meet with you for sure. And I'm going to go read that Substack, and then I'm going to be emailing you later. I'm serious.
I'll meet you in Princeton.
No, I'm coming to you. I want to go. I got to get out of Jersey. I got to get way out of Jersey.
I'll show you how hard it is to get to Portsmouth from East Greenwich.
No, I know it is. I'm just, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you all. Let me know if you want any amendments to the contract. We're here for you guys. Okay. Thank
Will do.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
We're now.
It's a year.
Moving on.
I
Uh, I will entertain a motion
That's
to
right, yeah.
approve the, 3 job descriptions.
Do we just lose the feed?
I don't know. Did we lose the piece?
I think we just lost Julie.
Oh,
So-
Yeah, we don't have, yeah, it's only on using this presentation.
sorry. Just was concerned that we had an open meetings act issue now.
Lights out.
Yeah, no, thank you. Okay, but, I will entertain a motion to approve the 3 job descriptions as presented. Okay, so motion by, Melissa, second by Will. Any discussion? All those in favor? I will entertain a motion to, approve the employment contract templates, the 3 of them, as presented. Do I have a motion? Okay, Will, do I have a second? Second by Melissa. Any discussion?
You're just voting on the templates.
Just,
It's okay to vote them together because it's not like
That's right.
it's not an actual contract. It's just the template, so it's okay to vote it together. It's fine.
Okay, all those in favor?
Sorry, I didn't like
The ayes have it. Okay, action item E, do I have a motion to approve the 4th of July holiday MOAs? Claire, do I have a second? Second, Will?
Just for some background, the 4th of July holiday falls on the weekend, and so the district is designating that Monday, July 6th as the holiday day. And we just needed, just for this, obviously 1 year, this year. And so there are 2 proposed MOAs, one with the Custodian Maintenance Association, and then one with ESP. It would just obviously be for people who were already working during that time period, so a full year employees.
Yeah.
Happy to answer any questions.
just so you know, the reason why we have to do this is when, and it only happens obviously every 2 years, but when the holiday this falls on the weekend, there's sometimes confusion as to whether we're going to recognize on a Friday or a Monday. The state of Rhode Island and the town of East Greenwich are recognizing on the Monday. It would just make sense for us to be consistent with that. And these are the only 2 collective bargaining groups that would be affected.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, all right, motion passes. Item F, I will entertain a motion to approve school, homeschool request, grade 10, school year 2025 to 2026. Do I have a motion? Yes, by Claire, second by Will. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. And finally, action item G, I will entertain a motion to approve the EGPS 2026-27 school calendar as revised. Do I have a motion? Yes, Claire, second by Melissa. Any discussion?
I can just explain why this is back on. You had already approved this once. It was submitted to RIDE. For the record, we still have not heard back from RIDE yet. The date that they give is May 1st. We were well out in front of that, but they won't actually start answering requests yesterday until after May 1st. With that, we did just receive notice. I don't know if you were aware of this. Originally, the Rhode Island primary date and on the calendar you approved was set for September 8th, but the General Assembly just voted and the governor signed to move that to September 9th. So we have to resubmit a new calendar to reflect that. As we're doing that, I do just want to point out a couple of things. We're taking the opportunity. We're moving with work that Ms. Norbelucci, I think she had to go, but is working with our teachers union on professional development plans for next year. We'd like to move, originally the spring PD date was April 2nd. We'd be moving that to April 9th. It's just going to work out better for timing for what we want to do. And we've also included in here, since we're getting closer to hopefully a final version of this once Brad approves, the end of quarter dates and the kindergarten start date, which is always needs to be identified separately. So that would be August 31st for next year. So those are the changes that would be reflected from the last calendar that you approved.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion passes. Okay, moving on to agenda item 10, policy items for discussion and possible action. We have three first reads. Any discussion on these? Yes, so as first reads, I believe no action is
No
required.
action is
Who
necessary.
is this for? Which one are we?
Do you want us?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now the time?
Now is the time. Yes,
It's perfect timing.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you for staying to.
It's been quite exciting. All right, I prepared something. My name is Michelle Stever. I'm the high school librarian. I'm here tonight to discuss the district policy committee and how we can bridge the current gap between policy creation and classroom reality. Currently, the committee meets Friday mornings at 8 a.m. I have attempted to get to a few of those meetings. It is near impossible to get out of my library. While I understand the need for consistent schedule, this timing effectively bars every classroom teacher from participating. We can't get there at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings. It's just not feasible. Furthermore, because working documents aren't shared with the entire faculty, we often first learn of new policies when they arrive as finished procedures we are mandated to follow. This lack of transparency means that the people expected to implement these rules have had zero input on their feasibility. Possible solutions. We want to be partners to make this process more inclusive. I'm asking the committee to consider two simple shifts. One, transparency. Share working drafts of policies with faculty through a digital portal or instruct your principals to share with faculty. I think our principals receive these documents.
So
Yes.
they can't respond to, but I can. So this
Okay.
is the working, like, this is it. This is the working draft. What's in the packet right now, this is the working draft. This is why we have a first read. Like, this is someone's opportunity to email the school committee, come to the school committee meeting like you did. Like, this is the draft right now. If you look in the school
So on
committee,
Fridays mornings when they meet.
that's the subcommittee.
Okay, that's what I'm talking
So
about then, I guess.
But
Is the
all
sub-
of that has to come, so the subcommittee is, like talking about policy formulation, but the policies often change here, that's why we have two reads, right? So the time for input for anyone who wouldn't go or can't make it to a subcommittee meeting would be like right now. So when these were in the packet on Friday.
Yeah.
That's essentially sharing the draft with not only the teachers, but the entire community. So if you look at the school committee packets, you will see a draft before the first read, and then a draft before the second read. And usually there's like a month time and, in between all of that. So that's the opportunity for teachers or anyone else to either come to school committee meetings and share their thoughts on those drafts or write to the school committee or the superintendent giving input on those drafts.
Yes.
So that part really, I think, we've done, right? We have to do it by law, but maybe you just don't know that that's
Well,
what it
I've
is.
been here to give feedback last year about the technology policy and nothing changed. Terry Garno was here, I was here, we gave
I
feedback.
mean, that just means they didn't take your recommendations, which is a reality of like what, the school committee gets to do, but not that you didn't get the opportunity to provide feedback.
But I'm concerned because with having the working committee meet, the subcommittee policy, the subcommittee for policy development, meeting on Fridays at 8 a.m. when teachers can't be there, it gives the appearance that it's not very transparent and that teachers' feedback is not sought after.
Can I address this for a
Yes.
second, Michelle? So first of all, I'm happy to meet anytime. We don't set the 8 o'clock on Fridays. It's really hard to schedule these things. The curriculum committee, the other one that I'm involved with, meets after school because there are teachers on the committee. I think your best proposal might be to ask that we change the charge to include a teacher or two on the committee. I inherited this from, other people. It's not, I don't think there are teachers on these subcommittees, sometimes there aren't. I think it'd make all the sense in the world if you want to do that. The meeting time I can't control, that could be negotiated. Poor Amy gets, all this stuff where she has to try to figure out a time where, you know, I have to have Tom and Ozzy, I have to have Tim, and then, you know, I work on every, as the chair, whoever the chair is, and then I have to work on everybody else. So it's really hard scheduling. But I think you would be better off that way, and I think that would be great. And just so you know, the idea, it's not to have a meeting where you can't attend, A, you know, the time is completely changeable, and B, it's not to have a committee where there's no teacher representation, because there is on some committees. This one historically just hasn't had it. The administrators who are on it are supposed to represent the voice of the teachers. So for and they obviously they're not going to represent every single teacher, but they're supposed to go back to their buildings. That's why in the case of policy, for instance, we have an elementary building leader, a middle, and a high school, so that we have all three, you know, groupings covered. And when we talk about anything, they're supposed to go back and however they choose to do it, because it's their building, they're supposed to, you know, socialize it, not with everybody. I mean, that's, you know, you're all welcome to see it in the public packets, as Aubrey explained, but I don't think we want to have a referendum with, you know, 300 teachers on every policy. The building leaders are supposed to, the administrators are supposed to be there to be that bridge. We constantly, and even me, we constantly say, what do the teachers think about this? Do we know? How do we know? Should we do should we do a survey about this?
Do you know what teachers
Well,
are?
That's
When you
that's
don't hear from people, it's easy to assume
I
that
think what
they
Aubrey said is,
agree.
it's not fully a democracy. We want to know what teachers think, and we're acutely aware. All we talk about all the time is, how is this going to work in practice? Is this a practical policy? It might be words on paper and beautiful prose and dreamy, but it's dead on arrival because it can't be implemented, it can't be executed. That's where I thought you guys were really missing the boat on the device policy last year, for instance, and I told you so. But we welcome all the input, and we're trying to put it through a lens of how will it work. We also have other stakeholders that we're trying to represent. And again, it's not that they're not yours, but maybe we're a little closer to them. So that's why we have parents on these committees.
Yes.
And you've been to a couple of our meetings. You know, these parents, you know, weigh in a lot and are extremely active. And then, you know, in some committees, Jean was a first mover in this. We want to have more student voice too. So there are a lot of stakeholders that we're trying to get input from. But the best of all possible worlds is when we get that input early. And we would love to have teachers giving voice to policy.
And that's what I'm addressing.
Just not
is
300 of them, you know.
I get that. And when I was there, it's uncomfortable to be thinking that I'm thinking about it. Now I've worked at the elementary level here at Frenchtown, and I'm at the high school, but I only provide a certain lens. There needs to be more voices of faculty at that table when you're talking about creating these
But
policies.
this is the table. Like, I think that I just want to be totally clear. This is the table. So like the idea that the school committee is not being transparent, I'm just going to push back on as legal counsel, because the way that legally this is supposed to work is that in the subcommittees do not make any decisions. They do not make policies. Like, there is very clear Rhode Island law, case law on this. Like, I have litigated this. It is very clear that is not where policies are decided on. They are recommendations that are made to the school committee. Those recommendations are then in a public packet at least twice,
Yes.
which every single teacher has access to, and everyone in the whole world has access to who has, you know, a computer or any kind of internet,
You said that,
look
you
at-
said that much better.
and to be able to comment on.
This is the table.
And like, yeah, and this is the table, like, and there's not no transparency, like, it's extremely transparent. We're here on 3 first reads. Anyone could look at these 3 first reads. Anyone can email them, email the superintendent and come speak here. So this is where the decisions are made.
Well,
If you want to get in there early, which I think is really good.
That's what I'm
You
getting
should,
at.
you
is that
should,
the-
if I were you, I'd want to get in as early as
But
possible.
we keep
Well, because the meeting time and the the membership, I would love to address the membership, okay? If to have a teacher or two on policy specifically, I think that would be great. I'm all for that. You know, as Aubrey said, it says on our agenda, it's advisory only. So there's only 2 school committee members on each of these subcommittees. So again, as Aubrey said, they're just, you know, that's an early stage generation of whatever we want to take before this body. So, you know.
Well, if there's a way to solicit feedback from faculty. Okay,
Maybe
but then if
to
during this
cultural shift.
working group, I think is my concern.
You should come on Friday if you can at 8 o'clock.
But that's
The first read of school climate. I know you'll have a lot to
But she
contribute on
can't, she's
that.
saying she can't come. No teachers can come on.
You came at one of those 8 o'clocks. Did
And
you
it-
cut library?
Uh-huh. Yes, that is what I'm saying.
All those, yeah, that's.
Well, so
part of the day.
maybe the membership could be changed, but I also just, again, want to be clear that that's advisory and that there is an opportunity for feedback. This gets posted ahead of time. You have opportunity to provide feedback publicly then. You have opportunity to provide feedback at this meeting. You have opportunity to provide feedback after this meeting and then until the next meeting and at the next meeting. It's a public document. It is not any kind of set policy. We change policies all the time in between meetings. Before we get to the meeting and between meetings, they're publicly posted. That is the teacher's opportunity for input. You could amend the charge and include teachers on the subcommittee, but that's still going to be 2 teachers, which, like you just pointed out, is not going to be representative probably of how every single teacher feels. But every single teacher has the opportunity to look at this publicly for at least usually a month before it's a set in stone policy and provide feedback. So I just, again, want to push back on the idea that that would be a legal issue. They would be liable if we weren't being transparent about the policies. Everything is very transparent. It's always in the packet. You can always come and comment on it and give it, but whether they take it or not is solely up to this button, not the subcommittee.
And if you feel that you don't have the opportunity, you should talk to Pat, for instance, in the high school, just because she comes to the meetings and she can provide that input. And she could say, this is what I'm hearing. This is what.
I think that's what would be appreciated, is to have a faculty liaison that teachers we would know that that's the person to go to with our feedback regarding these working documents in the subcommittee.
Well, you have that again, because it's Dom, Beth, and Pat representing the
Those
3 schools.
Documents aren't sent out to faculty.
They're not, the project.
That's
And they're not gonna, I think that's a bad idea. I'm not gonna.
Thing.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say, like, it is a working document until they vote on it a second time. If the entire time it's a working document, you could email any single person on the school committee, or you can email anyone who's on the policy subcommittee and say to them, like, I see this on the agenda. Here are my thoughts about this everything's on an agenda. Here are my thoughts about what should be in this particular policy.
But then it's just the culture, it's, I think I understand, like, that it's not like presented. And so if there's like.
It's gonna take a little bit of
Yeah,
extra
it's like
effort beyond we've emailed this like into your inbox. You would have
Right,
to go
like, in
look on the website
General
and see.
kind of, yeah, so that there's kind of like maybe having some leadership around, like, spreading the word, like making it kind of like more. Put out there from the teachers to the
We
teachers.
have more legal obligation to beyond what we've already
No.
publicly posted. I just
Yeah.
worry about you
I'm sorry.
creating
No, that's-
additional
No, I'm
layers
talking about
of accountability.
as a cultural, like, if it's an issue of the teachers feeling like they want to be more and like pinned on it, they could choose to sort of ping.
I think there'd be appreciation if they were part of the process, or if the results or the committee or the discussion was more communicated, more effectively communicated with staff. I think that would make some individuals a little bit more comfortable. But if you guys would prefer us just to chime in on the policies, we can do that as well. I think Ms. Stever, she's trying to bridge a
I think it's.
and maybe
Well,
the
it's a-
term transparency
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily the greatest, maybe.
Maybe that wasn't the right
Would it be
word.
better?
I apologize. But what I see is that I was trying to get to the policy meeting. It's near impossible on
I
Friday.
try to get to it. It's a horrible
It's
time.
very difficult. And leaving my classroom and anyone else in my building, it's very difficult to do that Friday mornings for that period of time. And for the meeting that I was able to attend, I was the only teacher that was present. And we would like to be partners in this process.
You know what I would suggest? I mean, again, you can find it online. I'm happy to send it to you. Take a look at the charge and take a look at the composition of the committee. And you have a recommendation. You say, we think there should be 2 teachers or 1 teacher or whatever. The only caveat is this is a problem with all these subcommittees for anybody. You'd be surprised that we always need to have a quorum. And the more people we have, the higher the quorum goes, and that creates real problems. At first, I scoffed when I came on the school committee, board and stuff like that. And everybody told me, no, you will be canceling meetings left and right. So you don't want the committees too big because then it's a problem when a couple of people don't show, which happens all the
But
time.
you don't have to be formally on the committee to go to meetings.
No, of course not.
They're all
Of course
public.
I have a lot of unions where the union leadership comes to every single school committee meeting and distributes everything. And so I mean, I would also encourage you to go back to your union and say, I think that we want more, information out of what comes, from each subcommittee and each school committee meeting. Because I do have a lot of, in other districts, like union leadership that comes, their entire executive board will come to every single meeting and has, and I don't know how in the loop you are, but I would also say that that's, a place that I would maybe look to try to find out more information. Because it is all publicly available.
I think also, I mean, just a suggestion, it would be very helpful, at least from my perspective, if teachers were involved in policy generation of what policies do we need, what gaps are there, that we need to fill, where a policy would help us do our job better, serve students better and stuff like that. Because that's something right now, the superintendent does a terrific job, comes in and says, this is my, I'm paraphrasing here, but this is my policy hit list. So these are the priorities from the superintendent. Our attorney does the same thing and says, these are things that need to be updated legally. These are things where, you have a gap in your policy portfolio. There's some holes and stuff like that. We do our own, interpretation of that, for instance, and say these are needs. So you have three different parties, superintendent, school committee, and, legal counsel saying, these are things that we need to do. It would be great to have teacher voice on that. We could, and I don't want to get too far over my skis, but I mean, to do that at least on an annual basis where we're kind of setting the agenda, I think would be a really great step, and that could also be a time when it doesn't have to be part of the subcommittee, even where we just say, where the teachers come in and say, all that stuff you did last year, these aren't working in practice. We have a problem with this. We'd like to see this one new. That would be, to me, that would be extremely valuable, as well as this is the table to come and,
Well, I would like to make the recommendation that there's additional teacher representation on the subcommittee that's creating the working documents in some way to have consistent teacher presence. Because what I recognize is that you're having these discussions each week that are building. And to have someone just dip in for one meeting, it's not necessarily helpful. So it needs to be someone who's consistently available at 8 a.m. on Fridays.
if there's common planning time, we can phone in. But that's a good point. That's a good point. And again, I think the curriculum one is good because we have 3 teachers on it. And that meets after school. That was really hard to schedule. It still is, because people are coming from.
I'm here on a Tuesday night.
Well,
right. So I understand that.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to reiterate that
warrior.
we'd like to be part of this process rather than after or feeling.
I think
It's not
that'd be
after
cool.
though. I was gonna
Nobody-
say again.
Nobody's trying to keep you out of it. So these are all good suggestions. This is just how can we do better from
Yeah,
our current state.
yes, but there are only 2 teachers here tonight.
Ms. Lombard, remember that this is part of kind of the perception is, yes, we feel a little bit on the outside. From your perception, we're not, but from our perception, no, and don't tell me that my perception is wrong.
Not, your perception is wrong because
No, it's not.
my job,
Don't ever tell me my perception.
oh, but I'm telling you legally, my job is to tell them what they need to do to be legally compliant. And the idea that this is a finished thing before it comes here for a first read is just legally wrong. And my job is to make sure that I keep them in compliance. That's why they have me here. That's why I work for the district. And so it's very important for me from a record standpoint to state that we are not doing anything that is out of compliance with the law, that nothing that happens in those advisory subcommittees is a finished product in any way. It is a suggestion that comes to this committee, just like anything else that's on this agenda. So I'm not trying to take away from your experience or how you feel, but what I'm saying is the legal reality is that that's not the case, that it is nowhere near a finished document. It is a suggestion on the agenda.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but again, it's my job to protect them and be clear with the public that we are in compliance with the law.
My other thing I wanted to bring forward was regarding the appeals policy. Level 1, going to the principal, I think it needs to be addressing the staff member. In the paragraph above, it says that we encourage people to talk with the staff member, but it doesn't say that it's required. And I feel that policy shouldn't say encourage. Maybe the level 1 should be discussing or talking to the teacher first that's involved.
I'm going to ask our barrister to respond to that. What do you think?
I think there's probably a way that you can write it that acknowledges that, but there are times when someone might feel uncomfortable to go to the person who's most directly involved. It's why sometimes we skip over the building principal also, to be honest. If there's an issue directly with the building principal, if the issue is directly with a staff member where there may be some wrongdoing or make a student or anyone who may have a complaint feel uncomfortable, I mean, I think you would just need to put in some writing for that. If there's if there's some reason that makes someone feel uncomfortable or that they need to go to the next level, but I think you could legally incorporate some kind of language that says this should be the first step. However, if there's a reason to, move to the next step, you're allowed to do that. So that we're not like mandating someone to go meet with someone who they feel like, hurt them physically or emotionally or whatever it might be.
But in general, that's the reason why the policy has the principal at level 1.
I think that's right. Yes. But I think you can incorporate that kind of feedback in a way that makes sense with just couching it in that.
Yeah, we can look at incorporate again. It's an appeals policy, so the assumption is that the person has met with whoever they need to at the lower level. So yeah, we can word it better.
It says encourage,
Yeah.
but it doesn't say that it needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And that's our experience is that
But Dr.
we
Kendall,
skip
if
over.
you're saying that this is a part of the appeals review, then that primary approach to resolution has already been taken.
Yeah, I think it's assuming that those steps have taken place. So we gotta just work on how we can word that better.
Yeah, I think there's a way to word it so that unless there's some reason not to have that conversation, and sometimes something is so sensitive that we wouldn't expect someone to go, teacher touched me in a way that I feel very uncomfortable with. We're not going to make them, go to that teacher and have this discussion. That may be appropriate to go to the building principal. And frankly, we need to have something in there so that administration is aware if something like that happens, rather than like, I just tried to work it out with, the parent or the teacher or whoever it might be. So there's a way to word it definitely that I think addresses your concerns.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion on the first reads? Okay, moving on for discussion and possible action, subcommittee minutes from December 7th. Any discussion or comments? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to adjournment. I will entertain.
I'm sorry, did they approve this subcommittee minutes?
No.
Okay, sorry, I can't remember which districts I have that do and which don't. Sorry.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It was a second by Kevin. All those in favor?